Hi guys, Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to another episode of Reclaiming Season 2 of Your Life. Today I'm here with a very inspirational guest, Aqsa. Kaisi aap, Aqsa?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. So Aqsa is a living example of walking towards your passion no matter how many years it has been passed, that you wanted to do something and you couldn't do it for one reason or another. Aqsa was in development sector for 8 years and she has recently shifted to a trained therapist, right?
Yeah, I've recently switched my career path to become a therapist, and in between these two things, I also started a jewelry venture with a friend of mine.
Nice.
So it's been quite an interesting journey that way. Yeah.
I'm sure it must have been, with so much going on in your life, starting from this. So I would like to know, and I'm sure a lot of other people would like to know as well, that switching career choices in our society, especially for women, is a very challenging thing to do in itself, right? So you made this very difficult decision after 8 years. How did that happen? How did that journey started, and how have you been managing it so well so far?
So I can't say if I've been managing it so well or well at all. I just think that in terms of managing it, I just think I'm taking it one day at a time and just seeing like what becomes of my day the next day, right? But you're right, like switching your career in the middle of, like when you're feeling like, okay, yes, you're finally stable in this career, you know about it, you have enough networks, you're at a good job, you have a good, like you're earning a good salary as well. I mean, we all want a good stable income at the end of the month, right? So I won't say, that wasn't easy. I think I spoke about it with my therapist for about 6-7 months. That whether I should do it, should I not do it, should I do it, should I not do it? And it was a combination of a lot of things. First of all, I just had this voice inside me that no, I want to give myself time. I'm enjoying learning about becoming a therapist, so I want to give this time. So initially for about a year, I tried to juggle all of it together, like the entrepreneurial side of me, the professional side of me, and this side of me that wanted to become a therapist as well. And then I realized at the end of the day, I was entirely burnt out. I had no space, I had no energy, I had nothing to offer to myself. Like I would come home and I would just crash. And the next day, the same cycle would start again, right? So I spoke about it at length. I discussed it with my therapist, my friends. I thought about it so much, and even then, it wasn't an easy decision. I mean, just a couple of days ago, I was thinking about it, like, shit, it's been almost 2 years that I resigned from my last job, and I was really happy at my job. I enjoyed my work. I loved what I did. I really loved it. And when I left my job, even my family were like, but you're doing so well. Why do you need to leave? And I'm just like, I don't know, if I don't leave right now, I might always regret it. And then the natural question, what if you regret your decision now? Like, what if you regret the next decision? I'm like, okay, but at least I would have done it and regretted it. The question of what if won't be there.
What if? That's very haunting for sure. So definitely, I mean, like you were saying, with all this fear and anxiety of basically starting from scratch, so like that's very huge for someone coming from, background like ours. We have to manage things on our own. There is no one, we can just go back to and say, okay, so ye ho gaya, to ab isko kaise karna hai, isko sahi karna hai. So how's it going so far?
Well, very honestly, Ramsha, there are good and bad days both. There are days when I'm like, shit, ye kaise hoga? And then I'm like, okay, let's just sleep on it and then see ki kal kaise main karti hu usko. And ho jati hai cheezein. Like there have been times in these 2 years where I'm like, okay, how am I going to, like if I want to travel, what can I do now? Now I don't have a stable income coming in. I can't invest in luxury, or I can't invest in things that are not needs, that are rather wants, right? So I don't think I can personally take credit for कि इस decision के बाद जो life थी वो कैसी रही. I think good part was that I had a good support system. I think that matters a lot. But even then, the feeling of loneliness, the feeling of hopelessness still exists, right? No matter like how great of a support system you may have, at the end of the day, you are the one going to bed with your thoughts and your demons, right? So I think Yeah, I think a lot of like mindfulness played a huge role for me in all of this. Like just being mindful of what I'm doing, what I'm not doing, where I'm putting my energy and time and resources in, where I'm not putting my energy and time and resources in. So I would say it's a combination of all of it that has brought me here.
Yeah, so basically, yeah, mindfulness definitely एक बहुत helpful चीज़ होती है because
Yeah.
you are actually living in the present as well. वो कोई destination addiction वाला element नहीं है कि I'll get there and then I'll be happy. In that case, you're always running from one thing towards another. You're never actually living the life that you have been building for
Yeah.
yourself, right? अच्छा, नाउ आई वुड लाइक टू टॉक अबाउट सो डिप्रेशन की जब हम बात करते हैं, डिप्रेशन से पहली चीज़ जहन में यही आती है और हमारे यहाँ जो लाइक एक कॉन्सेप्ट भी है कि डिप्रेशन इज़ ऑल अबाउट losing hope and not wanting to do anything or not wanting to get out of your bed or कुछ भी करने का दिल नहीं करता. But there's another type of depression like we discussed before, which is high functioning depression, right? So first I would like you to explain a little bit कि high functioning depression होता क्या है, उसमें क्या feel करते हैं आप, and then your experience with it.
I think, like this was a very new terminology even for me.
Yeah.
And this terminology, I came to know about it through my own journey of being in therapy. That this part of me that wanted to be productive all the time. Like all the time I was like, okay, I need to do more, I need to do more, I need to do better, I need to do more. I have time right now. How can I, like even if I had like an hour before going to bed, I'd be like, okay, how can I make the most of this hour?
Yeah.
This idea of productivity is, I think for me, for myself, was the bottom line of my high functioning depression. I always wanted to be doing something. I was high on energy. I was high on everything. Right? And then there would be days where I would crash completely and I would not want to move out of bed as well. Right? Because I would work so much, I would overwork myself. To the point where then I had no energy to put in anything. Right? Another thing about high functioning depression that I've experienced or that I've learned about it is that it's not different from depression. It is a type of depression, but high functioning depression is also more anxious in nature. Like it's a lot more the anxiety of what's going to happen now, anxiety of how can I be more now, how can I produce more now. It's very much associated with, depression in nature is associated with a low self-esteem, right? Sense of low self-esteem is the bottom line of depression. अगर आपको डिप्रेशन है तो या तो आपकी सेल्फ एस्टीम इतनी लो रही कि आप मैं कुछ भी नहीं कर सकते, ठीक है, दैट्स वन एंड ऑफ इट, दैट्स वन
टोटल फेलियर वाला जो पार्ट
या टोटल फेलियर वाला पार्ट जो आपका नैरेटिव बन जाता है. दूसरा एक्सट्रीम एंड होता है कि मैं इतना करती हूँ ना कि मेरी बस किसी चीज से मुझे आ जाए सेल्फ एस्टीम, मैं इतना कर ले ताकि मैं अपने आप को एंड में कह सकूं मैं तो इतना सब कुछ किया है तो मेरी सेल्फ एस्टीम इतनी लो नहीं हो सकती. आई थिंक फॉर मी इट वाज दैट कि ओ मुझे कुछ करना है जिंदगी में, अपना मार्ग बनाना है, अगर मैं कुछ करूंगी तो ही मैं वर्दी होंगी. Right? So I think one of the things about giving up my job was also this, my career is what defined me for a very long time. All the stories, all the experiences, things I learned, things I was good at is what defined me for myself. मतलब दुनिया को तो आप छोड़ दो, दुनिया के सामने तो आप हजार चीजें जता सकते हो अगर आप बताना चाहो, right? But for me it was like, oh, I have such a successful career, I'm in a good place in my life. So, I'm doing well. Like my sense of worthiness was coming from, my high functioning depression. And then when I decided to leave my job, there was also a huge sense of loss. Shit, this thing that has defined me, that's this thing that has given me this sense of worthiness for such a long time, I have bid farewell to it, and now who am I? Like, who am I if not all of these things? So these past 2 years have been a lot about unlabeling this and finding worthiness in just a small things. If I can wake up in the morning, I'm worthy. If I can respond to somebody kindly, I'm worthy. If I can, be of help to somebody, I am worthy. So all of this,
So, अच्छा, इसके अंदर एक और जो बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट चीज़ है, जिस तरह भी आपने कहा कि एक हमारी सोसाइटी में एक जनरल पर्सपेक्टिव ये होता है डिप्रेशन को लेके कि अगर कोई बंदा डिप्रेस है ना तो वो अपने इर्द गिर्द वालों की सिंपैथी के लिए, अटेंशन सीकिंग के लिए वो डिप्रेशन में बैठा हुआ है या इस तरीके से पोज कर रहा है. हालांकि डिप्रेशन सबसे ज़्यादा इम्पैक्ट उस बंदे को खुद कर रहा होता है. मतलब सबसे ज़्यादा फाइट उसकी अपने साथ होती है. बाकियों की सिंपैथी To be very honest, at one point it doesn't even matter, because no matter how many sympathies you are getting, you're still feeling like shit inside,
Yeah.
because आप अपने लिए एक failure हो. So that's very important कि depression is something जो सबसे ज़्यादा खुद को इफेक्ट करता है, अपने आप को, इन लाइक आउटसाइड वैलिडेशन नहीं इतनी इंपॉर्टेंट होती जितनी इनसाइड वैलिडेशन इंपॉर्टेंट होती है. दैट्स वेरी ट्रू. सो अब इसी पे लाइक यू मेंशन दैट विद हाई फंक्शनिंग डिप्रेशन इट कम्स एज अ सॉर्ट ऑफ एन ओवर प्रोडक्टिव पर्सन, लाइक यू आर ऑलवेज डूइंग समथिंग. ठीक है, अब बीइंग ओवर प्रोडक्टिव के बहुत सारे नेगेटिव इम्पैक्ट्स होते हैं. हमारे यहाँ अनफॉर्चुनेटली इसको बहुत ज़्यादा ग्लोरीफाई कर दिया गया है कि अगर आप ऑफिस आवर्स से ज़्यादा ऑफिस में हो, दैट्स समथिंग वेरी ह्यूज. आप ऑफिस आवर्स के बाद भी अवेलेबल हो तो यू आर अ गुड employee or whatever it is. ठीक है, या even as an entrepreneur, I believe as an entrepreneur you already have a lot of challenges on your plate. You are always 24/7 आप available ही हो. ठीक है, अब being over productive और उसके क्या effects थे या क्या impacts थे जो आपने अपनी physical health पे भी face किए होंगे या mentally, and how did you manage those?
I think it had both the effects. Physical तो definitely होते थे और mental उससे ज़्यादा होते थे. But the thing is that at least for me, and I've also observed this in people around me, your body talks to you. So when you are not paying attention to your emotional well-being, your body will show it to you that it's not doing okay.
That's very
right?
true.
So even for me, that is what started happening. Like a lot of मतलब एनर्जी नहीं होगी मेरे अंदर, फिजिकली कुछ करने की एनर्जी नहीं होगी, कहीं जाने की एनर्जी नहीं होगी. आई वुड एक्सपीरियंस अ लॉट ऑफ विथड्रॉल. आई वुड वांट टू स्पेंड अ लॉट ऑफ टाइम अलोन. आई वुडंट वांट टू सोशलाइज एनीमोर. एंड देन आई रियलाइज्ड कि ऑल ऑफ लाइक माय बॉडी वाज फिजिकली विथड्रॉइंग आहिस्ता आहिस्ता एंड फॉलिंग रियली रियली सिक. कैन यू बिलीव दैट आई like as like most people, I also fall sick, like seasonally flu होता है आपको, right? लेकिन इसके अलावा ना मुझे IBS होना बहुत ज़्यादा शुरू हो गया. Like I started having insane IBS and I would have IBS every second or third day.
Oh.
Right? And then since this 2 years, my IBS hasn't triggered even once. Or maybe once it happened, बीच में I think 6-7 महीने पहले, but it wasn't as insane as it was back then. So my physical health, I think, took a really, really bad toll when I was experiencing burnout. Like the whole experience of burnout itself took me about 6 to 8 months to come to the realization that shit, this is the experience of burnout, where I'm withdrawing from everything I used to enjoy. I don't feel like eating anymore. I don't feel like socializing anymore.
Yeah.
Even with friends, I don't feel like doing anything. Right? Like I'll give you this example. The old me, like before all of this. So I have this friend and I'm really, really close to her. I'm very grateful for her. And she's like an all-rounder. Like when I became friends with her, I experienced her as an all-rounder. और हमारे पूरे group of friends में भी ना सब बोलते थे कि यार तुम तो like you are like a superwoman, तुम सब कर लेती हो, तुम काम भी कर लेती हो, तुम आके अपने बच्चे को भी संभाल लेती हो, तुम in-laws को भी संभालती हो, तुम घर को भी संभालती हो, और तुम अपने पेरेंट्स को, अपनी फैमिली को भी संभालती हो. And it was like this glorified title we all gave to her, including me, कि oh you are like a superwoman, how do you do it? I wish कि हम भी हमारे तुम्हारे जितनी energy हो, right? And now, and gratefully that friend is still in my life, and both of us have had our own individual journeys all of these years, right? And now sometimes you talk about it and we realize, shit yaar, this is the glorification, like this is how we glorify overproductivity by like putting a person on a pedestal.
Yeah.
Oh my god, you are a superhuman being to be able to do that without realizing how much we stretch ourselves thin in the process. And I think I was doing the same कि oh मैं job भी कर लूँगी, मैं पढ़ाई भी करूँगी, मैं एक अपना business भी चलाऊँगी, मैं घर पे भी time दूँगी, मैं social life भी रखूँगी. And there came a point where I was like मैं तो कुछ नहीं कर सकती इनमें से, like just leave me alone, right? So I think physically तो तबीयत बहुत खराब होती थी. Like talk about migraines, talk about IBS, talk about physical withdrawal, not having the energy to even eat. Like there would be times when my jaw would hurt, and I'd be like I can't eat because my jaw is hurting, so I'll have to leave my food. Right? So these are like some physical symptoms I experienced as part of burnout. The emotional symptoms were a lot of withdrawal from in the sense of not wanting to engage with people anymore, not wanting to engage in society anymore. But also the emotional symptom was tied in with the fact that, oh, I have nothing to talk about now. I have nothing to show. I have nothing to say because the thing that defined me doesn't define me anymore. So what is my story? Right?
Yeah.
So this constant cycle of low self-esteem, this constant cycle of self-doubt was one of the most prominent elements of burnout I experienced.
और जैसे भी आपने कहा ना कि I think it is like I would really like to put it that way, thanks to those patriarchal roots कि हमारे यहाँ पे सफरिंग को ग्लोरीफाई ही किया जाता है. लाइक यू जस्ट मेंशन योर फ्रेंड, आई मीन अभी तक यही ट्रेंड है कि एग्जाम्पल्स भी यही दी जाती है ना, यू नो माई मॉम यूज टू डू इट ऑल. वो जॉब भी करती थी, वो बच्चे भी पालती थी, कपड़े भी खुद धोती थी, बर्तन भी धोती थी, सब करती थी. सो आई मीन दिस आइडिया ऑफ ग्लोरीफाइंग ओवर डूइंग स्टफ और बीइंग ओवर प्रोडक्टिव और बर्निंग योरसेल्फ आउट रियली नीड्स टू स्टॉप. आई मीन एवरीबडी नीड्स टू हैव देयर पर्सनल स्पेस. एक आइडिया पर्सनल स्पेस का, पर्सनल लाइफ का, रेस्ट करने का, ब्रेक लेने का, ये वो चीज़ें जिन पे कभी उस तरफ फोकस नहीं किया गया, या अगर कोई करता है तो उसको बहुत हैरत. आई एम श्योर, आई मीन यू मस्ट हैव सपोर्टिव फ्रेंड्स, बट सम ऑफ देम वुड हैव बीन लाइक, आई मीन व्हाई इज अक्सा लिविंग अ जॉब व्हिच इज वेरी स्टेबल. ठीक है, सो अभी तक वो चीज हमारी सोसाइटी में वैसे ही है कि इन सारी चीजों को बिल्कुल ऐसे ग्लोरीफाई किया जाता है, और उसके बाद जब किसी की बिल्कुल बस हो जाती है देन वो भी क्वेश्चन किया जाता है कि यू हैव एवरीथिंग, यू हैव अ कंप्लीट फैमिली, यू हैव अ जॉब, तो अब क्या हो गया. सो लाइक वो जो एक मिडिल ग्राउंड है ना कि रियलाइज करना कि ओवरडू करना इज नॉट समथिंग टू बी ग्लोरीफाइड, वो वाली चीज के बारे में बात नहीं की जाती है कभी भी, या उसको समझा नहीं जाता.
I think it's also the fact that our society, and this is not just limited to Pakistan, like abroad as well, like globally, I think this is a thing. Our approach to life is very shame-based. So, you know, like I was saying that our approach to life right now is very, very shame-based. And this is a part of patriarchal society, but I think this also applies globally as well. Even in the West it applies. It's very shame-based. कि जब तक हम कुछ बना नहीं रहे अपनी existence का, हमारी existence की कोई value नहीं है. Like very small example, जब हम किसी बच्चे का अच्छे स्कूल में एडमिशन नहीं होता तो पेरेंट्स बोलते हैं, सोसाइटी सब बोलते हैं, अब तुम क्या करोगे जिंदगी के साथ, तुम्हारा तो एडमिशन नहीं हुआ, अब तुम क्या करोगे, राइट? ओ तुम बीकॉम कर रहे हो, बीकॉम करके क्या करोगे, फॉर एग्जाम्पल, राइट? नहीं इंजीनियरिंग कर लो, डॉक्टर बन लो, कुछ बन जाएगा जिंदगी का. सो आवर अप्रोच इन लाइफ इज वेरी वेरी शेम बेस्ड कि अगर कोई बंदा सिंपल जिंदगी गुजारना चाहता है तो दैट बंदा इज नॉट डूइंग इनफ. Like if you talk about it, if you like think about it, those women who choose to be housewives, and choose is I'm talking about a choice. I'm not saying कि जिनके ऊपर डाल दिया है कि बस तुम यही कर सकते हो. I'm talking about those females who choose to be housewives, right? Versus those females who choose to have a professional life, a professional career, right? And also those women who choose to have both, right? They all are worthy. As long as it's a choice, as long as it's coming from them. And even for men as well, like as a society we really really look down upon stay-at-home fathers or stay-at-home husbands. But why not? Why can't the men in our society also choose to have a simple life, also choose to have a slow life, right? It's the idea of shame कि नहीं औरत ये कर सकती है और मर्द ये कर सकता है और उनको यही करना चाहिए. अगर वो नहीं कर रहे तो their existence is not justified.
वो जो pre-defined gendered roles हैं, वो और like अभी तक तो अब इसके ऊपर डिबेट होती है कि if a father is taking care of a baby, it's not babysitting, it's actually parenting.
Have you seen that meme where there was this meme that became really really famous कि oh my husband is such a nice husband, he helps me with my kid, right? And there's a whole debate on that meme. It's not helping, it's just his duty.
Exactly.
But this is not the fault of the women or the men. It's the society and what we've been fed all our lives.
All our lives, exactly. वो I always talk about this. I think it's going to be a thing for all my podcasts because we have to be the cycle breakers for this thing. कि ये generational साइकिल जो चले ना प्री डिफाइंड चीजों के कि ये बॉक्स है, यू हैव टू फिट इन इट, इससे बाहर तो यू आर नॉट एक्सेप्टेड. तो वो बॉक्स तोड़ के उससे बाहर हमें सोचना है और चीजों को रीडिफाइन करना है. अच्छा, सो अब यू हैव टॉक्ड इन डिटेल अबाउट डीलिंग विद बर्नआउट एंड बीइंग ओवर प्रोडक्टिव और वो सारी चीजें. अच्छा, वो सारी चीजें आपने अपने लेवल पे मैनेज कर रहे हो आप मैनेज, विच इज डेफिनेटली अ वेरी हार्ड थिंग टू डू इन इटसेल्फ. But with all of it comes managing your personal life, your personal like family relations, high functioning depression के साथ वो कैसे manage होते हैं? Because I'm sure a lot of people would like to know about it. अगर मैं एक छोटी सी example अपनी भी दूँ तो जब I had depression तो उसके अंदर like वो जो family related duties होती हैं ना उनको manage करना थोड़ा ज़्यादा difficult हो जाता है शायद because most of the people won't understand कि ऐसी भी कोई चीज़ होती है. How did you manage to do that?
I think again, I consider myself, fortunate that I have a small family, and because I always was a little bit withdrawn from family traditions and family rituals, so my immediate family didn't have a lot of expectations, very honestly, from me in terms of like it's an understood thing, oh, if there is a family gathering, Aqsa is 90% likely to miss it, right? And पहले जब मैं छोटी थी तो मैं इसलिए करती थी because I don't even remember मैं क्यों करती थी, but I remember never enjoying them, so I'll be like नहीं मुझे नहीं जाना, मैं बोर हो जाती हूँ. And now and then मेरी life इतनी over productive हो गई थी कि मेरे पास तो जगह ही नहीं थी ना कोई चीज करने की. So a very common thing in my household was कि ओ अक्सा तो काम पे होगी, पता नहीं देखते हैं अगर वो आ सकती है या वो join कर सकती है, या और my mom would be like, oh we are going for dinner that day at this time, you have to keep yourself free, right? So this was the trend in my household for a very, very long time. So when I slowed down and when I detached from being overproductive, it was a shift for my family as well. Oh, acha, now suddenly she's a little bit available for family duties, for family responsibilities. And I also started to enjoy the simpler family things. Like एक बहुत छोटी सी चीज़ है कि मेरे घर में ना हम लोग when we were younger, so my dad had this idea that okay, you guys have to he would give us pocket money, but he'd be like, if you want more pocket money, you have to do something, like just help around in the house in whatever shape or form you could.
That's
right?
sweet.
Yeah, and I really, in retrospect, I really appreciated this whole idea. So I would always like iron his already ironed clothes. Like, I don't know, I just loved ironing so much. I would iron his ironed clothes and he would give me extra pocket money, right? And my sister would do her own set of chores that way. And me now, as somebody who's really, really slowed down in life, has started seeking pleasure in these small things. You know, मतलब आपने बैठ के चाय पी ली या आपने बैठ के खाना साथ में खा लिया, and मैं ये नहीं कह रही कि मैं बहुत करती हूँ ये अभी भी, because I'm still the person I was, so I'm not entirely a new person. There's still elements of me in me that want to withdraw often, that doesn't have as much energy. But at the same time, you know, these small family responsibilities, this small expectation. I don't know, like my shift was such that I started enjoying it. And I started understanding that life is in these small moments, right? And you asked something very important and very interesting as well, कि you know, high functioning depression के साथ आप कैसे अपनी इन चीज़ों को expectations को कैसे meet करते हो? And I think for me the biggest thing was that I found these things as an avenue to challenge my energy. Challenge my energy and also channel my energy कि okay, मैं अगर 10 घंटे काम नहीं कर रही हूँ, right, तो मैं ऐसा क्या कर सकती हूँ जिसमें मैं अपने आप को exert भी नहीं कर रही हूँ, पर जो मेरे अंदर ये over anxious energy है वो भी निकल गई. तो वो इस तरह से मुझे एक चैनल, एक प्लेटफॉर्म मिल गया कि मैं छोटी मोटी चीजें कर सकती हूँ around the house with the family. I can be available for these things and I am healthily, you know, channeling this anxious energy. So I think it was a shift in perspective more than anything. It was a shift in perspective कि okay, ये भी करा जा सकता है life में and इसमें मजा भी आता है.
So like at the end I think it all comes down to this जो आपने बहुत अच्छी शुरू में बात की mindfulness पे, because हमें mindfulness का आइडिया नहीं होता ना, वही लाइक एक चीज से दूसरी चीज, एक काम से दूसरा काम, तो वो हम उन लिटिल मोमेंट्स को, उन छोटी छोटी चीजों को एंजॉय नहीं कर रहे होते, चेरिश नहीं कर रहे होते. ठीक है, अच्छा उसको चेरिश करना शुरू आप कर भी दो एट पर्सनल लेवल, वहां पे भी अक्सर क्या होता है कि सोसाइटी puts this huge pressure on you that you're always supposed to do it. अब वो एक always का जो concept है ना, और जिसको फिर being ungrateful के साथ relate कर दिया जाता है कि you know you're not grateful, you have a house, you have this. This needs to be understood that every person is fighting a battle on their own. ठीक है, a lot of people actually now realize कि ये one day at a time का concept कितना helpful है,
Yeah.
ठीक है? Mindfulness कितनी helpful है. It's like living life slowly कि हर चीज मैं control नहीं कर सकती, so I'll just enjoy these little moments.
And it's also about the little moments because I feel like कि वो जो हम बात कर रहे थे एक stable job को छोड़ के एक life जीना where okay I don't have a stable or like this income coming in every month,
Yeah.
right? So how can I make most of my resources? What can I do to enjoy? If I can't take trips anymore, if I can't travel anymore, if I can't go on a shopping binge anymore, what is it that I can do to enjoy life and make the most of it, make the most of my life, right?
Yeah.
And I realized that it is in the smaller moments that I started enjoying. Like for example, अगर मैं सुबह उठ रही हूँ and so maybe like before I become ready for the world, just taking like 10-15 minutes for myself, just setting an intention, okay, this is the kind of day I could have today, or being open-minded about what kind of day I can have today. And small things like enjoying apne chai pee li. Like I would often like, and I realize it, like I understand it now, I didn't understand it back in the day, that meri ammi na hamesha subah utھ ke, so my dad would go to work and we would go to school or college or our jobs, like me and my sister, and I would always notice that my mom would have her first cup of tea always alone. Like in the morning she would, that's the first thing she would do, she would have her cup of tea and us waqt tak koi kaam bhi shuru nahi hota tha ghar mein kuch bhi, she would just sit at the table, have her cup of tea and just enjoy, and then she would be ready for anything else.
Yeah.
Okay? And now I realize that that is her moment of joy in the day.
Yeah.
Like having her cup of tea in silence.
Yeah.
That's the simple way of finding joy in your day.
Exactly.
And I was like, like in retrospect, I'm very grateful that I've gotten to see these things, and now they make sense to me. पहले मुझे भी नहीं समझ आता था क्योंकि हम सब इसी सोसाइटी का एक प्रोडक्ट है ना, हम वही चीजें सोचते हैं जो ये सोसाइटी हमें सुचवाना चाहती है. एंड नाउ आई रियलाइज कि नहीं यार, ये बहुत जरूरी होता है कि आप अपने लिए ये चीजें एंजॉय करो. आई डोंट नो इफ यू सीन दिस शो ऑन नेटफ्लिक्स, आई थिंक इट्स कॉल्ड लिटिल थिंग्स. इट्स अबाउट दिस, it's an Indian show, and it's about this couple. They both are from different towns, but they both are living in a different town. So the girl, she visits her mom, and her dad has recently retired, right? And the girl says to her mom कि कितना अच्छा है अब आप और अब्बू सारा टाइम साथ गुजार सकते हो, now he's available for you, right? And so the mom goes like, हाँ, that's true that he's always available for me now that he's retired, he has a lot of time. But जो दिन में मुझे 2-3 घंटे अपने लिए मिलते थे ना, अब मेरे वो कॉम्प्रोमाइज हो जाएंगे. एंड आई रियली फेल्ट लाइक आई फेल्ट रियली इम्पैक्टेड बाय दैट सीन कि जो अपने लिए टाइम गुजारना होता है या छोटे छोटे हमारे अपने पर्सनल रिचुअल्स होते हैं ना, वो कितने इम्पोर्टेंट होते हैं जिंदगी को मीनिंगफुल बनाने के लिए.
दैट्स वेरी ट्रू, बिकॉज वो टाइम आप यू हैव इट विद योरसेल्फ, ठीक है? लाइक you can revisit your day, you can plan the day ahead, या watch something that you like. मतलब ये छोटी सी चीज है, but it makes a very huge impact.
It makes a very huge impact in calming your thoughts, especially if somebody struggles with depression or anxiety. So I think कि जो overthinking वाले, like anybody who's struggling with depression or anxiety has a habit of overthinking. हम ओवरथिंक हर चीज करते हैं. जूते पहन भी लिए, जूते अच्छे लग रहे हैं कि नहीं लग रहे हैं, बाल सही है कि नहीं है, अच्छा ये यहाँ पे जाना चाहिए कि नहीं जाना चाहिए. लाइक ओवरथिंक हम हर चीज करते हैं. कोई किसी से बात की है हमने तो उसके बारे में भी सोच रहे हैं कि ओ ये मैंने सही बोला कि नहीं,
टोन सही थी,
वो बंदे को कैसा लगा होगा. ओवरथिंकिंग इज it eats us up, it eats us from the inside. Like it creates so much self doubt. And I've realized that with mindfulness, and mindfulness ऐसा नहीं है कि उठ के कल आ जाएगा mindfulness. It's also like a habit you have to develop slowly, gradually over time. और फिर एक state आता है कि आपको होता है कि हाँ, now I'm at a place where I can live life more mindfully, right? So overthinking वाली जो चीज है ना, and I think we were also talking about in terms of high functioning depression as well. I think overthinking के लिए mindfulness goes really well. It helps calm down the thoughts. It helps you question and challenge the thoughts as well, rather than the thoughts challenging you. Because होता क्या है कि जब आप overthink कर रहे होते हो, you are questioning your existence. You're questioning everything you are doing.
Yes.
And you're questioning everybody else as well in your environment. कि, oh,
Achha, like we were just talking about overthinking, and you did mention कि mindfulness helps, you know, curb that dragon of overthinking जो हर वक्त ही आपके सर पे सवार होता है. Apart from that, what are the few things that you practice or that you think can help with overthinking?
So even in my client work, you know, this is something that, like this is a topic of conversation often with friends, with colleagues, with my clients as well, even in my own therapy, and in my own thoughts as well. And I think one of the things in terms of overthinking that has really helped me, and I've also seen it be helpful for people around me as well, is setting an intention, like having an intentional life. And that doesn't mean कि बड़ी सी intention set कर दो in terms of, oh, I'm going to live a happy life.
Yeah.
And that is useful. I'm not discounting the fact that a big intention like this is not helpful. It is. But overthinking is a very moment-to-moment thing, right? So your intention also has to be very moment-to-moment. Like in terms of, if I wake up in the morning, I setting an intention, okay, what kind of day I want to have, or what kind of, if I can't think so far ahead कि day पूरा हो जाए, because anybody who struggles with anxiety or depression, वो पूरे दिन का नहीं सोच सकते.
बिल्कुल.
उनके तो वरी ही वहाँ से आती है ना, right? So having an intention for what kind of, let's say, morning you want to have, what kind of moment you want to have right now. Right? So having an intention-based approach in life, I think that is something that's really helpful. Like if the intention is that, okay, my intention is to be kind, right? Then you will align your thoughts, your actions in a way that you are being kind. If the intention is to be joyful, or if the intention is to be happy or to lead a happy life, you will, you know, think about more happy thoughts, or you will look for happiness in everything.
Yeah.
And that is what will, you know, feed you to live a more mindful life that way. Like one thing that really helped me, because my idea of self-worth came a lot from success. Oh, I want to have a successful life. I want to be a success, right? So when this whole shift in my perspective was happening, I did this whole exercise where I was like, okay, so far my idea of success was having a successful career, maybe earning, you know, a certain number figure every month, maybe being famous enough, for example, right? Like these were ideas of success. And I was like, how can I redefine my idea of success, right? So redefining with intention. I think that is another thing that was really helpful. Like redefine what happiness means for you. Redefine what connections mean for you. Redefine what purpose or purposeful life means for you, you know? So redefinition and creating your own definition of everything. I think that's really important.
See, that's why I love therapy, because it gives you so many different tricks or, you know, tools or exercises to manage your life more effectively. Matlab, without it, this is something very new for me. Intention-based day can actually help you overcome overthinking. और ये बहुत like I'm sure it will be helpful for a lot of people, because ये चीज़ I had no idea. I just used to, you know, one day at a time का idea, और ये सारी चीज़ें होती हैं, but attention is a good thing, because फिर आपका focus उस चीज़ के ऊपर है, और ये वो एक ऐसी thought है जो आपके control में है फिर.
बिल्कुल.
ठीक है, तो जब आपके control में थोड़ी सी भी चीज़ आ गई, तो वहाँ पर you can, you know, make things work. That's beautiful, really beautiful.
I think one thing I would also like to add is, you know, एक तो intention बहुत important है, एक, you know, redefining things for yourself बहुत important है, and I think तीसरी जो चीज़ बहुत ज़्यादा important है in terms of living a more mindful life is how are you showing up for yourself, right? Like questioning that, like how are you showing up for yourself? Like let's say if you are having a tough time, if you're having a tough moment, right? How are you treating yourself in that tough moment? आपका internal narrative क्या है? क्या आप अपने आप को ही कर्ज कर रहे हो? क्या आप अपने आप को ही बातें सुना रहे हो? या आप अपने आप को सूद कर रहे हो? Right? I think that internal narrative is very, very important.
Yeah, that's actually very important, because मतलब we all have been there कि अगर किसी और की कोई गलती होती है ना तो बहुत कम होता है कि हम बहुत rude हो जाएं और the things that we say to ourselves in our head, I swear we cannot say those things to other people on their faces. How we tell ourselves, you know, that you are such a failure or you can never do anything, या बहुत ज़्यादा procrastinate कर लिए, ये भी नहीं हुआ, ये भी नहीं हुआ, ये चीज़ें हम किसी और को डायरेक्ट नहीं बोल सकते. Like even with our co-workers, we are very nice communicating these things. If you can please do it. और जब अपनी बारी आती है, so we are the most harshest with ourselves.
We are really harsh with ourselves, and then that's also how then we show up.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
If our inner dialogue is so harsh कि oh I am a failure, मैं ये बेहतर कर सकती थी, मेरे 100 on 100 क्यों नहीं आए इस टेस्ट में, for example, right? And I think उसी से ना हमारा self worth का narrative बनता जाता है. Right? Like if you think about it, all of these things are tied up, right? मैं सोच रही हूँ कि oh I didn't do good enough, so I need to do better. So I'll be more productive. I'll exert myself in the process. और फिर जब मैं नहीं उतना you know humanly possible नहीं होता, and when I won't be able to meet my own expectations, I'll be disappointed in myself, and then I'll be like, oh I'm a failure.
Yeah.
Like it's a whole loop.
वो सारा वही एक मतलब एक thought से start होता है, and you are not even probably aware of that thought, you know, कि वो आपके mind में कब आई और वो वहाँ से, और वही चीजें आपके relationships को भी define करती हैं. मतलब अगर आप खुद को एक failure समझ रहे हो, so the people you are aligned with, मतलब even if you are getting married or getting in a relationship or with your friends, वहाँ पे भी आपकी वही narrative set होता है.
Exactly.
ठीक है, because you are always ready to take the blame. ठीक है, अभी बात शुरू भी नहीं होगी, you will always be say यार हाँ मैंने ही किया होगा या मेरी गलती थी. So वो जो चीजें पर्सनल लेवल पे आप अपने साथ करते हो, वो बेसिकली हर जगह आपकी एक बेस सेट हो जाती है और वैसे ही आप अपने आप को देखते हो.
अपने आप को आप वैसे ही ट्रीट करते हो. Right? And then हम क्वेश्चन भी करते हैं कि oh why is the world treating us this way, without realizing कि तो हमने ही शुरू किया था. We started treating ourselves this way, and that's why the world is treating us this way.
और ये जब realization होती है ना, it's like वाकई goosebumps आते हैं कि I started it myself, और फिर जब ये realize होता है कि इसको stop भी मैं नहीं करना. Now that is actually a huge responsibility, because let's say कि वो बहुत सारे years की एक learning है आपकी, आप प्रोग्राम ही उस तरह हुए हो, आपका सारा सब कुछ मैनेज करने का तरीका ही वो है. अब उसको स्टॉप करने में साल लग जाते हैं. इट्स नॉट लाइक इट वर्क्स इन अ मंथ और टू. यू हैव टू कीप प्रैक्टिसिंग दोज हैबिट्स एक्चुअली.
Yeah, that's why again it all comes down to, at least for me, or how I would say it all comes down to the intention then. कि क्या intention है और आप कितना उस intention से अपनी life को align कर रहे हो. Like in therapy, like a very common we say this कि okay awareness is very important, and yes awareness is very important. For example, हर कोई Instagram पे you know like quotes पढ़ता है, oh healing is this and healing in that. Everybody reads these quotes on Instagram. People follow therapists on Instagram. People follow all sorts of pages that talk about a better life, a purposeful life, healing, etc. etc. Right? But I think one thing that goes missing is the fact that awareness is just the first step.
Yeah.
Right? मतलब अगर मेरी negative self talk मेरी awareness में आ गई है, that awareness itself will not change it. Me setting the intention to not do the negative talk or changing that negative talk is what will bring the change.
Yeah, real work starts after that actually.
Like बहुत छोटी सी example है. For example, let's say कि you know मेरे कपड़ों पे कॉफी गिर गई है. ये awareness में तो ये चीज है कि ओ मेरे कपड़े पे कॉफी गिर चुकी है. But अगर मैं ये घर जाके धोने में नहीं डालूंगी तो ये कैसे साफ होगा? Right? And I think it's that, like it's not just कि आपकी awareness में चीज आ जाए या आप एक intention set कर दो, but आपके actions और आपका behavior किस तरह से उस intention को feed कर रहा है.
Because अक्सर सिर्फ awareness से भी ये होगा कि वो चीज आप repetitively अपने आप को याद करवाते रहोगे. वो I think वो ज़्यादा damage करेगी as compared to doing any good, right? अच्छा, while we are on it, it's a very important thing for me, and I believe for a lot of other people, especially people like you. अब हमारी सोसाइटी में कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ थेरेपी चेंज हुआ है, नैरेटिव वही है या बदल गया है? बिकॉज अभी भी बहुत सारे लोगों के साथ वही होता है कि अगर आप उनको कहो कि यू नीड टू गो टू थेरेपी, तो सबसे पहला कॉन्सेप्ट यही होता है मैं पागल हूँ, मतलब क्यों थेरेपी पे जाना है. अनफॉर्चुनेटली अभी भी ये होता है. सो व्हाट्स योर व्यूज ऑन इट?
I think the narrative is changing, but very, very, very slowly.
Yeah.
Like there are people who are open to seeking therapy, there are people who are seeking therapy, right? And therapy भी हर किस्म की होती है ना. So I think narrative तो बदल रहा है, but हम ये नहीं कह सकते कि narrative बिल्कुल बदल गया है. Maybe like 5-7 years from now, we can say कि yes, now as a society we've come to a point where it's more acceptable. Okay, I think right now it's still one of those things that a few people are willing to talk about it, a few people are willing to take therapy, and that's why the community is very small. Right? So change आ रहा है, but slowly change आ रहा है. It's not कि बहुत जल्दी change आ जाएगा. But I think that's also a good thing in a way कि भले slowly आए, but sustainable हो.
Yeah.
Another thing I think that really the misconception that exists in our society about therapy is another thing that the misconception that exists in our society is the fact that our idea of therapy is very much tied in with clinical therapy or going to a psychiatrist.
Yeah,
right?
so if you can explain it a little bit.
As a society, हमारे पास ये awareness नहीं है कि therapy is step one, right? And therapy is something that helps you live a more meaningful life, manage your whatever symptoms of anxiety, depression, or bipolar disorder you may be having. It will help you manage it, right? And therapy is not about labels. Therapy is not about कि तुम्हें ज़रूरत है. Therapy is more about how can you live your life more purposefully with more awareness, right? Then आ जाती है psychology. You go to a psychologist when you need a label or when you need a diagnosis, when you need कि अच्छा something is going on, ये talk therapy से या help mindfulness से नहीं solve हो पा रहा, then you go to it. So psychologists are different form of therapists, right? And then you have psychiatrists. हमारा जो idea है ना society में, it's very psychiatrist based. Like अक्सर आपका clients आते हैं बोलेंगे, oh I need a psychiatrist. And when you ask them, why do you need a psychiatrist? Oh I struggle with insomnia. And you don't necessarily have to be on medication if you struggle on insomnia. You can go to a therapist and a therapist can facilitate you live a more purposeful life and help with insomnia as well, right? Psychiatry तो बिल्कुल end का resort है ना, जब आपको कुछ नहीं workout कर रहा, and psychiatry is the extreme, मतलब वहाँ पे जाना, एक psychiatrist के पास जाना should not be the first step. It should be the last step. So in the West, there is still more awareness about कि इंसान को किस चीज की जरूरत है. काउंसलर की जरूरत है, साइकोलॉजिस्ट के पास जाने की जरूरत है, साइकाइट्रिस्ट के पास जाने की जरूरत है. हमारे क्या होता है कि डायरेक्टली सब लोग ना वो डॉक्टर के पास बस जाते हैं.
हाँ, बिल्कुल.
डॉक्टर के पास चलते हैं, वो आइडिया है हमारा, डॉक्टर के पास चले जाते हैं. सो आई थिंक दिस एक तो मिसकॉन्सेप्शन ये एग्जिस्ट करता है सोसाइटी में, सो इस पे थोड़ा सा काम होने की जरूरत है. आई थिंक इट्स वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट कि थोड़ा सा we talk a little bit more about different types of therapies and what therapy is useful, like which approach is useful for whom, because they're all different approaches, right? And then I think जो clients आएंगे, जिन लोगों को जरूरत है या जो चाहते हैं थेरेपी में आना, वो सेलेक्ट कर सकते हैं कि उनको किस चीज की जरूरत है.
So like basically narrative change हो रहा है, पर awareness या वो जो एक एजुकेशन रिक्वायर्ड है ना थेरेपी से रिलेटेड, वो बहुत कम है. मतलब वो थेरेपी से, हाँ दैट्स वेरी ट्रू. एक्चुअली लोगों के जहन में यही आता है कि शायद एक तो सबसे बड़ा जो डर, टू बी वेरी ऑनेस्ट, जो मुझे भी होता है विद माय एक्सपीरियंस ऑफ थेरेपिस्ट एंड साइकियाट्रिस्ट एंड एवरीथिंग, गेटिंग ऑन एंटी डिप्रेसेंट. ठीक है, सो दैट्स समथिंग कि वो सबसे पहले आ जाती है. ठीक है, इफ यू आर फीलिंग जैसे सेल्फ हार्म के सिम्टम्स हैं, कुछ भी हैं, सो दिस इज द मेडिसिन दैट यू टेक राइट अवे. अब वो मेडिसिन पे जाना और उससे निकलना इज अनदर चैप्टर ऑफ योर लाइफ. आई मीन दैट्स अनदर पॉडकास्ट एक्चुअली टू बी डन. But yeah, you're very right about it.
Because like you said, not everybody needs medication.
Yeah.
Not everybody does. And हर चीज medication से solve करने की जरूरत भी नहीं है.
हाँ, मतलब इसको वैसे ही ट्रीट करने की जरूरत है जैसे हमें प्रॉब्ली जैसे सर दर्द होती है ना, कभी हम दवाई खा लेते हैं, कभी चाय पी लेते हैं, बिकॉज इट वर्क्स बोथ वेज.
या कभी सो जाते हैं.
हाँ, सो जाते हैं. या
राइट, इट वर्क्स both ways. It depends on कि आप क्या कर रहे हो. And I think therapy वाली भी वही चीज है कि in your right there is this thing, like ये डर होता है लोगों के दिल में कि यार हमें एंटी डिप्रेसेंट्स पे डाल देंगे, मेडिकेशन पे डाल देंगे. एंड दूसरी चीज ये कि बिकॉज यहाँ पे अवेयरनेस कम है तो रिसोर्सेज भी कम है. right? Like the resources, we don't have all sorts of medications available or the appropriate medications available here, right? So, वो चीज़ की accessibility, that is one question. Then आपको किस चीज़ की ज़रूरत है, that is the other question. So I think yes, on the society's level, we do need more awareness about it. We need more people talking about it, and we need more people normalizing going to a therapist.
Yeah.
Like we need more people normalizing कि therapy आपकी लाइफ में क्राइसिस आ गया इसलिए जाने की जरूरत नहीं है.
हाँ,
आप
बिल्कुल.
इसलिए भी जा सकते हो कि आप बस चाह रहे हो कि आप एक बेहतर जिंदगी गुजार
सको. बिल्कुल. हाँ, सबसे लाइक आई रियली लाइक द आइडिया कि नैरेटिव हमारा फोकस हमेशा इस पे ही रहते कि आई मीन दैट्स ऑल्सो वैलिड क्वेश्चन कि थेरेपी पे जाना अभी तक एक क्वेश्चनेबल चीज़ है, बट वो बात आपने बहुत अच्छी हाईलाइट की कि अभी तक ये डिफरेंस भी नहीं पता लोगों को कि थेरेपी पे जाना है, साइकोलॉजिस्ट के पास जाना है, साइकेट्रिस्ट के पास जाना है. इस एजुकेशन की भी बहुत ज़रूरत है. दैट्स वेरी ट्रू. अच्छा, अक्सर रैपिंग इट अप, सो because what would you like to tell those women who are still I'm sure अगर किसी ने यहाँ तक podcast देखी है so they are thinking about कि this girl took that huge leap of faith in her career. What would you like to tell those people जो अभी तक सोच ही रहे हैं कि अब करें या ना करें, या वो ख़वातीन जिनकी शादी हो गई है, अब बच्चे हैं और वो रिटर्नशिप करना चाहती हैं but they don't know how to do it? What would you like to tell them?
I think, I think this is what I wish somebody had told me when I was at this crossroads in life. And it's a little bit, it can come across a little bit harsh as well. The bottom line is it's not easy. If you are trying to take that leap of faith, if you're trying to do something that you've not done, if you're, whether it is switching your career, starting from scratch, starting a business, leaving a job entirely, choosing to be, not wanting to work as well. Whatever it is that, whatever crossroads you are at, yes, of course, जब आप वो step लोगे, like my biggest message to you would be that जब आप वो step लोगे, so yes, it's going to be super difficult. You will question yourself, you will have self-doubt, you will have moments where you'll be like, shit, मैंने ये क्यों कर लिया? And you will have moments where you will be like, कि काश मैंने ये नहीं किया होता. And you will also have moments where you'll be like, शायद मुझे वापस चले जाना चाहिए. But do remember the fact that that is your comfort zone talking. That is your familiarity talking. Because we are bound by our comfort zone, we are bound by our familiarity. जो हमें पता है ना उससे डर नहीं लगता. हमें डर उससे लगता है जो हमें नहीं पता है. But जो हमें नहीं पता होता ना, that is where the real growth lies. And it is possible कि आप एक leap of faith लो और आप एक step लो बड़ा सा और शायद आप वो ना बन सके उस चीज़ का जो आप चाहते हो. But remember that जो बनना होगा, what is meant for you, उसका वही बनेगा, right? Like when I decided to leave my job, pursue this full time, give time to my education, become a therapist and have my business, I thought कि okay, 2-3 साल में मैं अच्छी जगह पे पहुंच जाऊंगी जिंदगी में, मैं stable feel करूंगी, right? But very honestly, it's been 2 years and there are still moments where I still feel a little bit unstable, right? But then I realized कि यार, that is life. चाहे मैं अगर उस जिंदगी में भी होती ना अब तक, तो भी मैं unstable feel कर रही होती, right? So remember the fact, like my message to you would be, trust yourself enough to do it. You have to trust yourself and be your biggest cheerleader. If you are not your cheerleader, nobody is going to cheer you on. So you have to be your biggest cheerleader. And remember that familiarity will always call you back. Familiarity will always seem comforting. Unfamiliarity will always seem discomforting, right? And it's a struggle between how much comfort you need and how much discomfort you absolutely need to be able to realize your potential. So yeah.
Thank you so much, Aqsa. It was lovely having you over, and I'm sure this discussion would help a lot of people overcome a lot of things, especially myself as well. Thank you so much, guys, for listening to our episode and for watching our episode, and see you soon with another guest. Thank you.
Thank you.